Ronald Cohen. I was president in the 1967 Hilary term. I was born in Egypt to come to Britain at the age of 11 as a refugee. And so there are Arab sayings in my culture. And one that my father repeated to me from the youngest age is, your tongue is your fortress. If you nurture it, it will defend you. If you neglect it, it will betray you. So I'd been elected president, and I discovered that Robert Kennedy was coming from South Africa to the UK. So I picked up my phone and called the American embassy and said, it's the President of the Union, and I'd like to invite him to come and address it. I said, there's no way he's going to be able to do that, but we'll pass the message on to him. And then, lo and behold, a few hours later, as I remember, I got a phone call saying, you know what, we mentioned it to him, and he actually is prepared to fit it into his diary. Now, this was the time of the Vietnam War. His brother had been assassinated. There were questions about his running for president. And he was a very youthful, attractive, and charismatic figure. So you can imagine the effervescence in Oxford. In many ways, the most important interchange that I had with him was, as I remember, from the way to the lunch to the debating hall, where he said to me, and what would you do if you were the United States about Vietnam? I said, I would get out. And he said, yes, but look at the consequences. I said, but the consequences will be there several years from now when you have to get out. So you may as well get out now. And, he pensively shook his head. In the debating hall, he talked about myriads of different things. And then somebody asked a question about why do you have so many children and relating to religion and so on. And I rang the bell and stood up and I said, I really don't think this is an appropriate question to ask. He said, no, I'm very happy to answer it. And he gave his answer. For somebody at the age of 22 to end up in that office at the top of the staircase, and all of a sudden to think, I can invite anybody in the world to come and speak. I can pick the issues of the day that interest me most and try to air them. It's fantastic. I mean, it's a sense of soft power, I suppose you would call it, that you perhaps never achieve after that, because you're also a neutral agent most of the time. So I found it exhilarating. And my college is Exeter College, which is a 3-minute walk from the Union. And whether I'd be walking to a debate or whether I was coming as president in white tie, and so on, I'd be preoccupied with big issues. I mean, perhaps only when you become prime minister do you and you have a big debate in Parliament about something, do you think in the same way. I'm very involved in the Middle East. For 25 years, I've been involved in trying to bring Palestinians and Israelis together by developing the Palestinian economy and relieving poverty on the Israeli side. I'm also Jewish. We're living through a period where the polarization that has come from the Middle East has outstripped even that of the Suez Crisis in 1957, when I was kicked out of Egypt as a refugee, and when I gather that the Dons threw port across the common room, glasses filled with port at each other. But if we don't begin to discuss these things, we can never achieve, say, in the Middle East, peaceful coexistence. And my conclusion is that moderates actually predominate everywhere, and in the Middle East as well. In other words, what we're seeing today in the war between Israel and Hamas is a war between two sets of extremists over the heads of the majority of moderates who would like to see this conflict ended. Now, how do you begin to preach moderation at a time when the goal of extremists is to exterminate it? It's a difficult thing to do. I mean, you can do it in civilized conversation, although tempers can run high. Doing it through social media has become almost impossible. You very seldom find yourself in a situation where you can exchange views in a civilized way with people who disagree with you. You're mainly parrying attacks on your family, on death threats, and God knows what else if you said something. So I think the answer to the question is we have to strive to do that, and we have to try to do it publicly among moderates who are naturally very anxious about making their views known, because the extremists will have a go at them if they do, but we must do that. And if we look at what's happened in the United States, I've just come back from the United States, and where we've had this attack by the current administration on universities. We derived within universities at a form of intolerant liberalism, which was a contradiction in terms. How can you be so liberal that you espouse a liberal view to the exclusion of anybody else being able to question it, So I think you're touching on a really important point today. We have to bring civilized discourse back, and it won't be between the extremists, it'll be between the majority of moderates. Freedom of speech in my life has been an absolutely essential quality. And I think the Union must always stand for freedom of speech. Of course, there is a line between freedom of speech and the freedom to do harm to others that is unwarranted. And that line is one that all of us have to tread carefully. But it's probably the institution in the world that embodies freedom of speech more than any other, and it should continue to do that.